Alright, we are recording for chapter 12 of Pastor's Courage, which it left off with him having escaped the uh, work detail at the sugar factory, and he managed to hop into a train, and then pass out shortly after because he was quite exhausted. Um, yeah, so now there's actually not that much to this chapter, so maybe I'll make this quick. We'll see. Um, when he wakes up, he realizes, once he also sees the sun rising, that he's heading south, which he wants to go north. So that's a little bit of a problem. But he rationalizes it to himself that, well, they're not going to expect me to be going south, so I'm actually confusing them. Yay. Um, Eventually, though, it's like, okay, I gotta get off this train. And as it's going, he spots a sign that's saying, like, yeah, there's an experimental train station coming up, so no stopping or anything like that. But the train actually does still stop. Inside of a tunnel, he jumps out and hugs the wall until the train leaves, and he walks back. And he decides, I gotta look to see what this experimental station is. Which I don't think it's so much that the station is experimental as it is, it's a station for an experimental purpose around there. And he notices these weird cylinders that have like a cone at the front. He even describes them as looking like fuselages of airplanes but without wings. He's like, huh, to make a mental note on this, they're probably bombs of some kind or shells, but it's kind of weird. They have these markings on them, V1. So yes, he encountered V1 bombs there, which it is a little curious that apparently they don't have wings on them yet, because the V1 was basically a cruise missile, where you had the body that was the bomb. I don't remember if the wings were on that. Probably, but then a jet engine on top. It was kind of a crude jet engine because it produced a buzzing sound. It was basically constantly flicking on and off, on and off, on and off, creating this buzzing sound. But regardless, it still was very devastating. But not the V2s were worse, in part because suddenly just things went boom. The buzz bomb you would hear coming in, so that definitely is terrifying because you don't know what's going to happen. But when buildings are just being destroyed because explosives are raining down on you, that's a bit different. Anyway, it's also a little odd that, well, I mean, I guess they would be manufacturing them that's far south, but I just associate so much of the V1 and V2 program with Peenemünde, which is to the north of Germany. And the north side of Germany, I should say. So anyway, he's off the train. He starts walking back towards a town that he figures, okay, if I can get there, I don't remember the name of the town. I should be able to catch another train that'll get me up to Vienna, and then from there to Dresden, from there to where I want to be. So that's exactly what he does. Hang on, I'm just trying to. But at this town, he does spot one thing first. And that is he, while walking around trying to find the train station, encounters a column of Jews. That they are under guard and being like moved out somewhere to be a work detail. But he describes them as being dressed in rags and sackcloth. And this is also winter. Like he woke up, snow had fallen on him, and he's in a puddle of icy water because his body heat had melted it. But these people are walking in bare feet on cobblestone because that's all they have. He describes them as appearing as though the humanity had been squeezed out of them, and also that they had been so abused, with the malnourishment and such, that it's like you couldn't tell man from woman, that they were just people there, but with the humanity squeezed out of them. And then mentions how he, not really a faithful man, not really a religious man, but brought a prayer to his lips, and also he swore that somehow there would be a personal reckoning for this. It so incensed him. But he couldn't do anything about it then. I couldn't have done anything about it right then anyhow. He needs to get to a train. Buys a ticket to Dresden, gets on there. Unfortunately, no real problem. It also helps that, he's got the travel passes, which are legitimate. They indicate him as being French, which isn't that helpful because he doesn't know much French. He doesn't know much German either, but he's hoping to get by. Gets to Vienna, which unfortunately, it even talks about how when he'd heard of Vienna, it should have been a beautiful city to see, but this is wartime Vienna, and it's not that beautiful. But he also discovers something else that is a bigger problem, which is the next train he would take to Dresden, I'm pretty sure it was, would be in 19 hours. So he's got to figure out some way to pass all that time without being caught, and preferably finding a bed or just somewhere warm inside, so because it is snowing heavily, he can't just spend it outside. So he starts just exploring the city, trying to find somewhere in the back of it, essentially, where if he hangs out there for a while, he's not very, even if he is a suspicious character, well, he's one amongst many suspicious characters. And there, he does, he manages to find a place, basically a cafe, or his cup of coffee, in part to avoid suspicion, because he doesn't really want to have that coffee, but it's better than nothing. And then he encounters a prostitute there. And initially it's like, oh, no. And it's also she's not very attractive. But then the thought occurs to him. I'll bet I could pay her just to sleep in her bed, and she'll just think of it as easy money. Sure, let's do this. So she leads him out. And, goes down various pathways, eventually gets to a building that's like, this is actually kind of nice building, well lit, okay. Pulled inside, door opens, and there's like 15 police officers. You brought me to a police station. And I don't remember what she said, but it's just like, sorry, and turned around and left. So, one way or another, she knew to just turn him in. But at least it does describe that they were actually pretty nice to him. He's like, they didn't abuse him or anything, that they actually gave him some hot soup, did some questioning, which probably was just who are you? Where did you escape from? How long ago was that? All right. That's covered. We can file the report. Then a few days later, he's at Lambsdorff, so he's back, and it's actually funny because he's being interviewed by the adjutant again. And the adjutant is like, you again? And what there's a little bit more to it. That's like, how do you think you're going to get out of this one? It's like, nah, I mean, it was actually a very pleasant time. I mean, legitimately, the police were very efficient, very kind to me. It was really great. It's like, oh, okay, I'll see you in a month, because that's how long you're going to be the cooler. It's like, cool. But it is, I'm sure we'll get back to it at some point. Later, when he'd served his time in the cooler, and not such a bad month at that, as will be seen, so I wonder what that will translate to, he did learn that of the 15 who had escaped, 3 had actually evaded recapture, and so might have actually been able to make it all the way home. And he considers 20% a nice average. So, yeah. And that's actually where it ends. As I said, there's not much, well, I don't want to say that there isn't much to this chapter, because there is definitely stuff going on. It's just, to summarize it is pretty easy. And I'm just thinking, is anything more to mention? Any real analysis? I mean, not really. Except that maybe the whole, as it will be seen here, and also with Wing Commander Bader, that, we will see that Coward has something to do with one of his escape attempts, and it's like, okay, could we get... I don't know, it just is a little annoying that it's... How long do we have to wait? And mainly with the Wing Commander. Well, I mean, no, okay, yeah, I guess it is fair, because I was going to say, it's annoying with Bader because of how it's, like, name dropping, and then it's like, oh, but don't worry, he'll come back. Like, this will be relevant in the future, and that's a little annoying as opposed to just, I mean, okay, he's there, we'll leave, when we come back, he's still there, so... But then is yeah, but it might be this is not, be stated there, so it's this isn't just a name drop, there is stuff going on here. So it's like, alright, fine, I guess I can't actually hold it against him for that, but still. And then this, I'm just hoping that the as will be seen, will get explained shortly. Which, like, what is it that by a month of him, that by a month passing with him in the cooler, how's that advantageous? I do not remember. We'll just have to find out. One thing, though, that I will add is that and I know I've mentioned this before, he definitely does find ways of achieving that personal reckoning for what was being done to the Jews. And it is also worth noting, because it is mentioned in this chapter, that this was the first time he actually saw the Holocaust. Yes, previously he did see the fires burning, the smoke produced, and could smell it, but he didn't know what was going on. This is he's actually seeing it. All right, so it's not just a something that ultimately is connected, and we know is connected. Now he does see it for himself. And it is also interesting, actually, when you think about it, because of the whole, what did the German people know about what atrocities the Nazis were committing? And I am being intentional in separating German and Nazi here. I mean, yes, a lot of Germans were Nazis, but a lot of Germans were also made to be Nazis. Like, you couldn't escape that. It was compelled. So, but it is still one thing, and it's Judgment of Nuremberg. It's such a good movie. And it's actually, don't want to go on that aside. But one thing that it does present there is the sense that the German people had a greater knowledge than they want other people to realize. But at the same time, though, they were afraid. Like, even then. So it's, you can understand it even if you wouldn't say that's a defense. But yeah, it's yeah. But in this case, because I'm like, they were being marched through a town, so in theory, then yes, the townspeople were witness to it as well. So yeah. All right, so chapter 13. I'm just going to quickly see what it's. Okay. Not entirely sure. It seems just some skimming over that. There was a reference to Moloch, so I'm assuming that that's just to talk about human sacrifice, because that's one thing that Moloch wanted. Although I think in many cases it was more so child sacrifice, but still human sacrifice going on, which would be accurate for what he has been seeing and what more he will end up seeing in the future. And remember, it's 24 chapters long, so we're at about halfway, and there's plenty more to still happen. All right, see you then.